Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are undertaking a massive mission. We're going to try and tear down one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, often destructive cultural ideals in history.
And that's the concept of idealized beauty.
Yeah.
Exactly, that very specific hyperbolic phrase, the most beautiful girl in the world. That phrase is a perfect starting point, really. So, this makes me think of myths and pop songs, but we're going to be zooming out a lot.
Right.
Our source material today looks beyond that fantasy. It forces us to see how this ideal of unattainable perfection actually intersects with the fundamental, sometimes brutal, reality of human mating.
And marriage and family structures. We're going all the way back through evolutionary psychology and deep cross-cultural anthropology.
Yeah, it's a huge blend. We've got Greek folklore, modern psychology, and the very rigorous framework of sexual strategies theory.
And our job for you is to understand what beauty really signals, how it dictates investment, and maybe most importantly, what men historically had to do to be chosen by the women who were called the fairest of all.
And that phrase, the most beautiful girl in the world, it symbolizes perfection, sure, but it also signals immense power. It's a motif you see everywhere. Literature, folklore, movies.
And it has truly ancient roots. I mean, when we think about the absolute earliest ideals of beauty, we have to start with Greek mythology, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to. You've got Aphrodite, the Olympian goddess of love and beauty. She sets this eternal divine standard of perfection. She's the one who gets the golden apple.
The one to the fairest in the Judgment of Paris myth.
A myth which, and this is key, wasn't just some beauty contest.
No, it was the spark that ignited the Trojan War, a decade-long war.
And that's the insight right there. Then you get Helen of Troy, who was the mortal version of that divine beauty. Her allure was seen as a divine gift, and it literally launched 1,000 ships. Her story shows that beauty isn't just a passive thing.
It's a tremendous social power, and often a destructive one.
It can reorganize entire societies.
And that ideal just kept evolving. You see it in the Renaissance with artists like Botticelli and Titian bringing back those classical ideals, reimagining Venus with this ethereal grace.
But the criteria would shift, based on social norms. By the Victorian era, for instance, the ideal woman was more about purity and fragility. Pale, slender, almost otherworldly.
And we see this hyperbolic praise carry right into modern culture, often with a new spin. It pops up everywhere. You have the 1935 Broadway musical Jumbo, and then Charlie Rich's 1973 country hit The Most Beautiful Girl.
Which is such a sentimental song, all about regret and longing.
Total regret. But then Prince, years later, gives the phrase a completely different vibe with his 1994 chart topper.
Oh, completely different vibe. It's all about sensuality, desire, female empowerment. It just shows how fluid the ideal is, even while the core idea that one person is peak stays the same.
But as soon as you establish an ideal, the critique is not far behind. By the 1960s, you have feminist critics, most famously Betty Friedan, viewing these ideals as, powerful tools of control, things that confine women to roles defined only by their appearance.
And that critique is really validated by modern psychological findings. We know now that constant exposure to these idealized standards, especially on social media, it directly correlates with lower self-esteem and body image issues.
You mentioned a powerful 2023 study that just drives this point home.
Yes. That study found that just reducing social media use by 50%, just 50% over a few weeks, led to a significant improvement in body image in young adults. It's proof that this constant observation of an unattainable standard is genuinely harmful.
Okay, so that's the cultural and psychological cost of being the ideal. But now we have to transition. Let's pivot from what beauty is to what highly attractive women demand.
Evolutionary reality.
What did men historically have to do to be chosen by the fairest of all?
So now we move into the realm of sexual strategies theory, or SST. And the core idea here is mutual mate choice, but with a really foundational asymmetry. It's based on biology.
The sex with the higher minimum parental investment.
Choose your one.
Which means women. Because of the 9 months of pregnancy, nursing, that's a huge upfront investment you can't get back.
Precisely. So women, especially those who are highly desirable, they're looking for a whole coordinated portfolio of traits. A sign that a man is going to commit resources and protection for the long haul.
So for a long-term commitment, what's universally prioritized? We always hear about resources and status, but is there something even more fundamental?
Absolutely. The foundation is character. Across almost all cultures, the core preferences are for dependability, kindness, honesty, intelligence. But we also have to talk about love.
Love. That sounds, a bit romantic for a cold evolutionary theory.
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Love is hypothesized within SST to be an evolved mate commitment device.
The commitment device.
It's not just an emotion, it's a signal that stops someone from leaving. The prototypical acts of love, things men do that women value, include giving up relationships with other people and, crucially, expressing a real, observable desire to have children together.
So it's a signal that the massive investment needed for a child will be there and it will be reliable.
Exactly. You're saying the emotional experience we call love evolved because it was the most reliable way to signal long-term economic fidelity.
Commitment is the resource.
Yes. And speaking of resources, this is where male strategy gets very concrete and very consistent across cultures. Women prioritize ambition, industriousness, and resource acquisition.
And the sources have some really clear examples of this, right?
The data is striking. If you look at historical Swedish land records, men with more land, a direct measure of well-married women who were substantially younger than the wives of poorer men.
And since youth is a proxy for fertility, the wealthier men were getting access to higher mate value.
Exactly. And it wasn't just in Europe. Among the Kipsigis of Kenya, the same principle applied through an economic transaction. Only resource-rich men could afford the high bride price for younger brides. Wealthy men always had preferential access.
And beyond resources, there's the raw physical side of things. Protection, formidability.
Women universally value men who are taller than average, athletic, physically formidable. It's deeply wired, and the physical evidence supports it. Men have, on average, 61% more total muscle mass.
And it's even more in the upper body, right?
75% more upper body muscle mass. That kind of sexual dimorphism points to a long history of what we call contest competition, where physical ability meant protection. Okay, here's where we get to the most counterintuitive finding in the source material, the one we really need to unpack. The reproductive success of the most beautiful women. It's not what you'd think. This is critical. Data from a major longitudinal study showed a huge surprise. Women in the second highest quartile of attractiveness actually had 16% more children than average. They maximized quantity.
But the very top tier, the women actually deemed the most beautiful.
They had only 6% more children than average. That 10-point drop is huge. It shows that being the absolute fairest of all doesn't mean you have the most kids.
Why? Why would the highest value women slow down their reproductive rate?
It suggests a profound strategy shift. They're not maximizing quantity. They're maximizing the quality of the offspring and the paternal investment they receive.
They're so selective they can demand a much bigger commitment before having the next child.
Exactly. It shows up in longer intervals between children. They are waiting for that perfect portfolio of commitment, resources, and protection before they invest in pregnancy again.
Fascinating. Their leverage lets them demand perfection, even if it means fewer kids overall. And this complexity extends to short-term relationships, too. Strategies are completely different for men and women.
Completely. For men, the short-term strategy is often, pretty straightforwardly about sexual variety. But for women, the main driver appears to be the mate-switching hypothesis.
Okay, let's define that clearly for everyone listening.
The mate-switching hypothesis suggests that female infidelity is often driven by dissatisfaction with the current long-term partner. It's a way to trade up.
So the short-term relationship isn't just for sex, it's a tryout for a better long-term mate.
Essentially, yes. Someone who might offer more benefits, better resources, maybe better genes, fewer costs.
And for men, the enduring concern is always
paternity uncertainty, a universal problem. And this dilemma leads to huge cultural variation in the preference for female chastity. In a place like historical China, it was indispensable.
Because resources had to be passed down the male line with certainty.
Right. But then you look at a place like Sweden, and chastity is seen as largely irrelevant because paternal investment isn't so strictly tied to that absolute certainty of lineage.
That's a perfect pivot. We've talked about the individual strategy. Now let's look at the institution of marriage itself. From an anthropological view, why is marriage nearly universal?
Well, the adaptive theory centers on a core human problem that came with bipedalism and our very dependent infants. When we started walking upright, babies couldn't cling to their mothers anymore while she foraged.
So taking care of a baby and finding food became incompatible activities. You can't really do both at once.
Precisely. The most efficient solution was a stable, cooperative union marriage, where a male provisions the female and child during that high dependency phase. It's just more efficient than relying on a diffused network of other kin.
And how are these pairings actually formed? We think of romance, but that's a pretty recent invention, historically speaking.
It really is. The likely ancestral pattern was arranged marriage. Today, about 48% of societies still have parents arranging the union. Full individual choice is actually rare, only about 31% of societies.
And arranged marriage is usually found alongside extended families and a low emphasis on romantic love as the reason for getting married.
And it's not just a social contract, it's an economic one. About 75% of societies have substantial financial transactions that go along with a marriage. Let's distinguish the two main forms there: bride price and dowry. Right. Bride price is the most common. That's goods, money, or labor, going from the groom's family to the bride's. It's basically compensation for losing a productive daughter.
So you see that in societies where women contribute a lot to subsistence, like farming.
Exactly, and where the couple goes to live with the husband's family. You're paying for losing a worker.
And dowry is the opposite.
Dowry is wealth passing downward from the bride's parents to the new couple or the groom's family. It's associated with complex, stratified societies, and this is the interesting part, with low female contribution to subsistence.
That correlation is fascinating. Why is that?
Well, if a woman isn't contributing much economically through her labor, the dowry is her contribution. It helps her attract a high-status groom and secures her position in the new family. It's a tool for a competitive marriage market.
Let's talk about polygyny again. One man, multiple women allowed in 80% of societies. What are the evolutionary drivers beyond just a man having enough resources?
One powerful theory links it to the environment, specifically to high pathogen loads.
High disease stress.
Right. In those regions, a man benefits by maximizing the genetic variability of his offspring. If he marries multiple unrelated women, he diversifies the immune system genes his children inherit.
So if a new disease comes along, the odds are higher that at least some of his kids will have the right genes to survive.
Exactly. The structure of the family itself becomes a defensive strategy against disease. It comes with costs, of course. Co-wife conflict is reported in about 90% of these societies.
Which is probably why divorce is allowed in the vast majority of societies. And we also see the standard household form worldwide isn't the nuclear family we think of, it's the extended family.
That's right. And that form is predicted by what we call incompatible activities. When one parent can't meet all the demands of their gender role alone, like farming all day, while also needing to care for a child, the extended family steps in. Grandparents, siblings, they provide that critical support.
So we've really taken the journey from the mythical ideal of the fairest of all the way to the calculated evolutionary strategies and the anthropological structures that govern our relationships.
And a common thread seems to be that the ideal of beauty is a constant, but what it's used for, its practical utility, that shifts dramatically depending on context, disease, resources. The key takeaway for you, the learner, has to be this. When we study mating, it isn't just about superficial attraction. We are looking at mechanisms of investment and social organization. Absolutely. The men who were selected by highly desired women throughout time, the ones who demonstrated this deep portfolio of competencies, acquiring resources, protecting, being reliable, all to maximize the survival chances of their shared offspring.
It's a pragmatic, deeply evolved calculus. And that pragmatism leads us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. We saw in the source material that societies with polygyny and large extended families are measurably less likely to have democratic norms.
Right, potentially linked to lower parental warmth and higher male aggression.
So if our core family structures influence our political systems, what does the modern global shift towards small, independent nuclear families and the rise of individual mate choice imply for the future of political stability and social cohesion?